Gardaí question wife of drug trafficking suspect Geraldine Gilligan and their grown-up children. Dublin man in fatal stabbing had been charged with manslaughter of drug addict. And the Middle East crisis deepens as both sides blame the other for suicide bombings. Good evening. Geraldine Gilligan, wife of the drug trafficking suspect John Gilligan, is still being detained by Gardaí in Dublin tonight. She was taken into custody this morning together with her son Darren and daughter Tracy. It's understood they're being questioned about the activities of John Gilligan and his associates.
Mrs. Gilligan was taken into custody this morning by detectives who called to her bungalow at the Jessbrook Equestrian Centre in County Kildare. A short time earlier, detectives had gone to the homes in Lucan of Mrs. Gilligan's son Darren and daughter Tracy, both of whom are in their 20s, and they too were taken into custody. All three were brought here to Lucan Garda Station, where they were detained under the Offences Against the State Act. During the day, I understand, they were questioned about various matters, in particular the activities of John Gilligan and his associates. John Gilligan is now in custody in England, awaiting trial on drug trafficking charges. In February, Mrs. Gilligan won a case in the High Court in Dublin against the Criminal Assets Bureau. The court ruled that she was not liable for a tax bill of over £1 million and that her husband John was obliged to make the tax return. During that hearing, Mr. Barry Galvin, Chief Legal Officer of the Bureau, alleged that the assets that went to make up the equestrian centre were the proceeds of criminal activity. He also claimed that Mrs. Gilligan was a full partner with her husband in the conduct of his criminal enterprises, an allegation which Mrs. Gilligan denied. In an interview with RTE, Mrs. Gilligan said they could prove where the money for the centre came from. She also said she did not believe her husband had anything to do with the murder of journalist Veronica Guerin, who was shot dead on the Naas Road on the outskirts of Dublin last June.
A 15-and-a-half-year-old